Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Well, of course, the ultimate job of the government is to control the population by telling you they're just taking care of you. And that is why this election cycle, they've really got to make sure they get their guy in there or their gal, because the establishment and the globalists have some very big plans. And they're already beginning to implement this surveillance state. And so this block is really important for you all to pay attention to, because if this system is up and going and there is no checks on what they are doing behind the scenes, it's not going to matter who we get in office. It's already, the control grid is set. The totalitarian surveillance state is a go. It'll be authoritarian, totalitarian, beyond your wildest dreams. And this is what's happening. So we're already starting to begin to see this happening now in high schools across America. This is a new FBI initiative. It's based on Britain's anti-terror mass surveillance program. They're instructing high schools to inform on students who express anti-government and anarchist political beliefs. So these are, they're saying that high school students are ideal targets for recruitment by violent extremists seeking support for radical ideologies, foreign fighter networks, or conducting acts of targeted violence within our borders. And so they're basically asking schools to now tell on people that might have these anarchist views. And of course, they're conflating constitutionalists with sovereign citizens, people who have those anti-government sentiments. But that's also all of you Bernie supporters out there as well, because it's anyone that has extreme anti-tax views. And yes, Bernie wants to take down the establishment. So yes, it's you too. It's not just Al-Qaeda. So people really need to be concerned. And of course, this is already getting parallel with East Germany's Stasi network. And of course, that served as the primary instrument of repression in communist East Germany. The government forged partnerships with businesses, state institutions, and social organizations. Everyone was telling on everyone. We're starting to see that here in America. We've got officials tracking children on social media. They're going to punish students for inappropriate posts that are made outside of school. So this is an Orwellian state-sponsored spying on children. It's going to give school administrators the ability to punish students for things that they do outside of school. And of course, there's always the issue of pre-crime, the crime you have not committed yet. There's new technology that's being worked on right now. Computers are already outperforming humans in predicting who will commit violent crime. So judges are going to be able to use this technology to dole out longer sentences for people that this computer determines might be someone who's going to become an offender in the future. And so if it's wrong, sorry for you, buddy. And of course, you know who else does this? Communist China. They're trying their hand at pre-crime. They've directed one of the country's largest state-run defense contractors, China Electronics Technology Group, to develop software that's going to collect and collate data on jobs, hobbies, consumption habits, and other behavior of ordinary citizens to predict terrorist acts before they occur. And of course, by terrorist attacks, they mean anything that could possibly take down the state. And when you think, oh, well, that's not a problem, don't forget the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, has already been mulling over the idea of whether or not to pursue civil action against climate change deniers. So that's an ideology that's, it's not a crime yet. But, a lot of police out there, or people that are working for the man, just doing their job, you're not going to be exempt from this too. They also have algorithms that are going to be predicting police misconduct. So this is a group of scientists that are working as part of the White House's Police Data Initiative, and they're adapting sophisticated software for predicting when cops will go bad. So they're going to be tracking your interactions between officers and civilians, ranging from impolite traffic stops to fatal shootings. And of course, we know Apple just is trying so hard to not bow down to the FBI, telling them to create this software that's going to bypass security features on their phone. We've mentioned this is going to set an ultimate precedent. They're saying someday they're going to want Apple to turn on a user's camera or microphone. We can't do that now, but what if we're forced to do that? Where does it stop? If they want us to do it in a divorce case, an immigration case, a tax case, someday someone's going to ask them to do it, and they'll be forced to if this precedent is set. Now, we know that they're already doing things that they don't have the legal authority to do based on the Constitution. Posse Comitatus Act prohibits the military from operating on American soil, But a report released by the Pentagon Inspector General admits the military has already been using Predator and Reaper drones to surveil the American people. And heads up at spring break, that's the latest policing tool that's going to be monitoring rowdy crowds of spring breakers as well as any protesters. They are already using drones. And don't forget, a lot of them already have weapons.
Remember when 2009 Nobel Peace Prize winner President Barack Obama bragged to his aides that he is really good at killing people in the book Double Down while discussing drone strikes? Well, just how good is he? Obama has managed to kill innocent civilians in Afghanistan with a 90% success rate. And according to the Bureau of Investigative Journalism, Obama's CIA drone strikes have killed children. And our commander-in-chief has bragged about it. The next time some liberal rattles on about how great Obama is, remind them of this horrifying statistic. And now, the Pentagon has finally issued a report made public by a FOIA request stating that unmanned military aircraft have been deployed on non-military missions that have occurred fewer than 20 times between 2006 and 2015 and always in compliance with existing law. Back in 2013, we caught a glimpse of the use of military drones in the United States when then FBI Director Robert Mueller testified before Congress.
Our footprint is very small. We have very few and of limited use, and we're exploring not only the use but also the necessary guidelines for that use.
Does the FBI use drones for surveillance on U.S. soil?
Yes.
The recent revelations of the robbery of liberty for supposed security by an out-of-control myriad of federal alphabet agencies is nothing new. Kurt Nimmo writes, a 400-page Defense Department document obtained by NBC News in 2004 revealed the Pentagon's increased domestic spying activity on anti-war groups following the 9/11 attacks. The CIA also spied on and subverted the anti-war movement with its Operation Chaos in the late 1960s. Additionally, the agency covertly launched Project Merrimack to infiltrate and subvert domestic political groups despite the CIA charter forbidding such activity. In 2012, Infowars.com reported on Obama's Environmental Protection Agency using aerial drones to spy on farmers and cattle ranchers in Nebraska and Iowa. The surveillance came under scrutiny after Nebraska's congressional delegation sent a joint letter to EPA Administrator Lisa Jackson. The EPA argued the flights are legal. Jackson said, courts, including the Supreme Court, have found similar types of flights to be legal, and EPA would use such flights in appropriate instances to protect people and the environment from violations of the Clean Water Act. Oh, and what a stellar job the EPA is doing, as is evident in Durango, Colorado, and Flint, Michigan. Despite the fact the Posse Comitatus Act prohibits the military from operating on American soil, the Pentagon has busied itself with establishing drone bases within the United States. Public Intelligence, a nonprofit advocating free access to government information, released a map of military UAV activities inside the United States in 2012. According to the organization, it is not clear if the bases are used for foreign missions or domestic surveillance. A list produced by the Federal Aviation Administration in response to an Electronic Freedom Foundation Freedom of Information Act lawsuit also shows numerous drone bases within the continental United States. In June of 2015, drone pilots were walking off their jobs in droves. International Business Times reported a group of 45 U.S. military veterans have signed a letter appealing to pilots responsible for carrying out deadly aerial military drone strikes in countries like Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Pakistan to stand down and deliberately refuse to carry out their orders. The letter was submitted to U.S. media outlets by anti-drone group No Drones, pleading with drone pilots to refuse to fly surveillance and kill missions. It's as clear as the nose on your face. The level of treason required to ignore the Constitution, your fellow Americans' rights, and basic human empathy and compassion can only be stomached by the anti-American criminals calling the shots in the highest offices in Washington, D.C. John Bound for Infowars.com.
fellow Info Warriors, I am very excited to be able to announce to you the introduction at InfoWarsLife.com of a new way to save time and money when you stock up on InfoWars Life formulations like Survival Shield X2 and Super Male Vitality. Just go to InfoWarsLife.com today, select your favorite product, click on Auto Ship before adding to cart, and choose how often you want us to send you another order. Every time you choose Auto Ship at InfoWarsLife.com, you get 10% off, and you won't have to worry about running out and having to reorder next time. And of course, you can cancel with one click anytime. As you know, I'm all about the idea of a 360 win, and the new auto ship feature at InfoWarsLife.com is a sure win for everybody. A win for liberty, a win for health, and a win when it comes to big savings. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today and save 10% on your next InfoWars Life order by selecting auto ship at checkout. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.